Hello, I'm Simon Zutshi, and in this video, I'm going to share with you the property investments you should avoid. Now, this video might surprise you, it might shock you, it might even upset you, because maybe you've invested in some things that you shouldn't really invest. But hey, I've done that as well. And I want to share with you my almost 3 decades of experience investing in property and 25 years of being a landlord. And I've made some mistakes, I've seen other people make mistakes as well, and I'll help you avoid those mistakes by sharing with you details about property investments you should simply avoid. Now, I'm going to share with you 4 strategies that I don't think you should be doing, and also I'm going to share some general investing principles from my book, Property Magic, which is an Amazon bestseller, which I also think you should take into account when you're investing. Now, first of all, let me share some of the principles from Property Magic. Oh, by the way, this month is the 15th anniversary of us publishing Property Magic. It's sold well over 100,000 copies. And actually this month we're giving away a complimentary copy. You can click on the link below or go to www.simonfreebook.com and get a complimentary copy, a digital copy of Property Magic, or you can pay just the postage and get a physical copy sent to you as well. So what are some of the principles in Property Magic I want to share with you that's going to help you avoid the bad investments? The first thing is, when I talk about the 5 golden rules, rule number 1, we always want to buy from people who are motivated. So don't go and buy properties from sellers who are not motivated. You're going to pay a lot more money for them, but you want to work with motivated sellers who are flexible on the price or the terms. Rule number 2, I see people buying properties where they're going to struggle to rent them out. But rule number 2 is you only want to buy properties where there's a strong rental demand. Rule number 3 is you must only buy properties that make positive cash flow. What that means is you take the rent, less all the mortgage and the management, insurance, after all the expenses, there must be profit every single month. Otherwise, in my mind, that is not a good investment. Because a lot of people say, yeah, I'm buying it for the capital growth. Well, capital growth is probably going to happen because we live on this island with a limited amount of accommodation and an increasing population. So prices and rents go up over time, but there's no guarantee that's going to happen. We want to buy property that makes money every single day, gives us positive cash flow. Rule number 4 is we're buying for the long term. And that's going to link into some of the strategies I'm going to talk about in a moment, which you shouldn't do based on the current market conditions. If you're holding long term, it doesn't matter if we have short term price fluctuations, as long as you follow rule number 2 and 3, in that there's always strong rental demand and you know it's going to make positive cash flow. And rule number 5 is we want to have a little bit of a cash buffer, some money put aside to cover things that might come up that might not be covered by insurance. Now, it could be money in a bank, it could be money on a credit card facility, just something that you can use to make sure that you're going to cover any unexpected expenses. So you can quickly get that property rented out and get cash flow coming in. So those are some of the good investing principles. Let me share with you the 4 strategies I think you should not be doing right now. Now, one of them is something you just should not be doing at all. 2 of them are things that are great in a rising market, but we don't have a rising market. And the final one is one that I think can work really well, but only at the right time in your property journey. So first of all, the property investment you should not be doing is, I don't believe you should be investing in purpose-built student blocks. Now, student accommodation can be very, very profitable. If you have a house of multiple occupation, one of the types of tenants can be students. And in the right area, works really well. But you'll notice in most university towns and cities, there are these private blocks of flats going up, which are very nice and shiny, and lots of students like to live in them, but they're very expensive. Now, because they get a very high rental income, you can buy into those. You can buy a room or a pod of rooms in a purpose-built student accommodation, and you might be attracted because they talk about an 8 or 10% yield, return on investment. That looks pretty good compared to money in the bank or compared to a single let property. But what you need to understand is this. Because there's a very high rental income and they give an 8 or 10% yield, it means the value of the property is probably much higher than the true bricks and mortar value. So you're actually overpaying for that investment. Even though you get a good return on investment, you're paying a lot of money for that. Now, when it's first built, it's a nice shiny block of apartments. But over time, that property is going to get a bit worn, and in a few years' time, there might be another block that's a newer, shinier block that's more popular for people to live in. And the problem is that if you own a room or a pod of rooms within that block, you're going to be paying service charges to the freeholder, and they're really responsible for the general upkeep of that. You have no control over the appearance and the upkeep of that property. And also, there's a limit of what you can actually do. You can only ever use that accommodation as student accommodation. So when you decide you want to sell in 10, 20, 30 years, when it's not such a good property, you might really struggle to sell that property. So I think purpose-built accommodation might look attractive, but I really don't think you should be doing that, in my humble opinion. The next thing is, there are two strategies which can work really well in the right market conditions, but actually they are not suitable for the current market conditions at the time of recording this video, which is February 2023, when we're seeing property prices come down. So those two strategies are, first of all, off-plan investing. Now, off-plan investing is where you find a developer who's building a block of apartments or some houses, and you buy the property, or you put down a deposit and you exchange contracts before the property's finished. And the idea is that the developer, they want to get some sales under their belt, which helps them with their financing. And the theory is that they'll offer you a property based on today's value, or maybe a discount off today's value. And by the time it's completed, hopefully it's gone up in value. Now that can work really, really well in a rising market. But we don't have a rising market right now. The property prices are coming down. And I'm absolutely shocked that there are some people who are on YouTube talking about why you should be doing off-plan as a great strategy, and they don't know what they're talking. They're absolutely nuts. It's not a good strategy in a falling market, so be very careful. The other thing is, often you actually exchange contracts. You put down a 10%, you're exchanging, you have a delayed completion. Now that's a real risk, because when the property's finished, what if you can't get a mortgage, or what if the values have come down? You're still committed to buy that property. And if you don't, you could lose your 10%. Even worse, if they sell the property to someone else at a loss, they could come back and sue you for the difference. So that's a big risk associated with off-plan investing. I highly recommend you do not do that strategy in the current market conditions. The third strategy I'm going to talk about, which I don't think you should do in these current conditions, is what's called flipping property. It's where you buy a property that needs some work doing to it. It might be a full refurb or just a cosmetic uplift. You then put it back on the market to sell it for a profit. Again, it's great in a rising market. It can even work in a stagnant market, but where the prices are coming down, there's a risk by the time you buy it, spend money in it, the value might be less than you paid for it in the first place, which means you have to hold on to it. Now, that's okay if you can afford to rent it out. But very often they don't stack up as rentals, and people think, oh, well, it doesn't matter because I'm going to sell it on to someone else. So I believe flipping property is not a good strategy in the current market conditions. And the final strategy that a lot of people are attracted to, and it can work very well in the right time in your property journey, is property development. Now, I do development. Development is amazing, and at some point in your property journey, you should absolutely do development. However, if you're new to property investing, as many of my clients are, and you're investing in property because you want to create cash flow, then let me tell you, property development is probably not the best strategy for you if you need cash flow. Now, if you don't need cash flow and you're new to property, you can absolutely do development as long as you learn how to do it. It's a very steep learning curve, and we partnered with a property CEO as part of the PIN partnership because they're very good at that. We don't really teach that. So you can do it if you're new, as long as you educate yourself and you don't need cash flow. But if you need cash flow, let me warn you that property development will swallow your cash flow. And eventually, if you get it right, there'll be a big payday when you either sell or refinance the properties you've developed. But until that point, it's going to swallow your cash. So property development is a great thing to do, but please make sure it's an appropriate stage of your property journey. If you're investing initially because you want to get cash flow, then property development is probably not what you want to do. So I've put this video out. And by the way, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell icon, because as videos come out, some of my videos are very topical, they're very time related, time sensitive. You want to be watching the video as soon as it comes out, not 6 or 12 months later. Some of my videos are about case studies to inspire you, some are about specific strategies that are valid all the time. But I highly recommend you subscribe and hit the bell icon to make sure you get the latest videos when they come out. And if you've got any comments, questions, please put them below and I'll happily answer them for you. So to summarize this video, I talked about Property Magic book and I talked about the golden rules in there. By the way, if you want a complimentary copy to celebrate the 15th anniversary, just click on the link below in the description or go to www.simonfreebook.com. You can get a digital copy completely free, or if you want a physical copy, just pay the postage and we'll send that out to you. So go and get that if you haven't read it. If you have read Property Magic, by the way, just type Property Magic below in the comments and tell me what you liked about the book. If you read it, I'd highly recommend you go and read it again. Or if you listen to the audio version, go and listen again, because there'll be things you notice the second or third time you missed the first time round. And although I wrote it 15 years ago, it's currently in its 6th updated edition because the market keeps changing. The general principles work all of the time. The golden rules are still valid now as when I first wrote them back and published the book in 2008. And I also talked about the 4 strategies that I don't think you should be doing right now. Property investing you should not be doing. We talked about student accommodation, purpose-built student accommodation. I'm not talking about an HMO where you're renting out separately. I'm talking about where you're buying a unit within a block. I don't think you should be doing that. We talked about off-plan investing. I don't think you should be doing it in this current market conditions. It's not a good thing to do. We talked about flipping property. Again, not a good thing to do in the current market conditions. And finally, we talked about property development, which can be great, but only at the right time in your journey. If you're looking for cash flow right now, property investment is not the, property development, sorry, is not the thing you should be doing now. Get cash flow in first of all, then do development later down the line. So I do hope you've enjoyed this video. Comment below, especially if you've read Property Magic. Click on the link to come and get a complimentary copy if you haven't had a copy yet. We've got some more videos lined up for you, some more great content. Do enjoy the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell icon, and also hit the like if you like this video. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. I'll see you in the next video.